got brought up to you. Mr. Oladuwa, are we ready?
All right.
All right. You just give us a time limit, okay? Y'all can start your watches. Start your watches in the name of fairness.
Thank you, K-Fax.
Start your watches.
Thank you so
9 minutes, 59 seconds, start clapping.
My brother. Thank you all for being here this evening, and a very special thank you to the artists who have presented here this evening. Adam, your work is really inspiring.
Excellent.
You speak truth, and truth is not measured in political policies or in applause. Truth is measured in the way that the sound of the words strike the nervous system and the response that comes from that. And it definitely struck a nerve. It's inspiring. And Miss Woman, Miss Superwoman, as I told you when I first heard you, you got a gift, girl, and you need to be serious about that gift. You've been given something,
Right.
and you have something that you can give to people that will lift them up, and as a result, lift you up out of the morass of baby daddy shit.
Say it again. Something baby daddy can't take away. Shoot.
As quiet as it's
Gotta give
kept,
it.
as quiet as it's kept, ain't no man or no woman worth the suffering that comes with prolonged agony of missing.
Amen.
There's too much in the world, and we each have too much to give. Freddie, Dunlap, we will talk this evening, as we will Larry, so that we can put y'all on the featured spot, because both of y'all deserve a spot. Larry, your shit keeps getting better and better. You started with them limericks. I had to run away from them. I had to run from the limericks, Larry.
Leave me alone.
You every time you come, man, you come strong, and you touch me every time you come, but you really have something to say.
Me
And
alone.
you express it with a humor that that is enlivening. It is engaging. And Victor, come on Wednesdays so we can do some drumming. Because what I saw, I started, when you started the drumming, I started to come up here and take that djembe from you and give you a kunga. You playing kunga on djembe. Every drum has its methodology and its technique, and every drum should be respected for what it is, because the people who have invested their energy in that instrument need to be respected so that you can get the most out of it. You got good hands, but the technique that you were using was that's kunga technique. Okay, come on.
Well, I was taught by a conga player.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. I normally close out with some political stuff. Well, all my stuff is political in the sense that it speaks about the truth of my experience. But I'm going to read some personal pieces this evening. I'm going to read a piece about from jail called Trees for My Garden. And then I'm going to read a piece about my mother and a priest about my father. Trees for my garden. I used to watch treetops over towering white walls of captivity and wonder about their greenness. The green fertility of life painted against a cloud-free sky, birds winging their way to somewhere free. I used to dream night dreams of setting the world afire and burning justice onto the landscape of my people's suffering. But I was young then, still trying to hold back the dawn, not understanding the necessity sometimes of scorched earth. I was still trying to accommodate youthful values I'd been cultured into and had grown to believe and follow. But I awoke one April morning to the vibrations of the Algiers Motel blues and dug the birds still winging on their way to somewhere stilled in life against an illusion. And I, embroidered into a centuries-old fabric of oppression, etched in whiteness across the acres of my suffering. It's then I began to grow trees and other life things in the garden of my being, and to sink roots in the soil of reality for the children. That April was the assassination of Martin Luther King on the balcony of the Algiers Motel. And since the time I was 13, death has been an ever-present presence with me. When I die, bring me all the family, the fathers and mothers who have nurtured me, the brothers and sisters that I know, and all those who I have missed. In traveling through this cosmos, bring me to the children who have touched me and given me a reason to keep pushing another day forward into this abyss. Bring me the old growth oak and the red elm, the spotted tall grass that I planted where the ancient elm fell. Bring the old men and the winos whose wisdom has lifted me, and bring the drums and the saxophone, the music of the spheres and the dobro twisted logic of jazz and the blues grafted onto this place of dews and bitter yearnings that never could have been fulfilled. Bring the loves that I have not claimed and the cherished ones who lingered. Bring the nurse whose touch electrified, and the son for whom I stayed and missed the satisfaction of living in love. Bring too the gifts given and the gifts given up, and bring the old books that tell the story of the hows and whys and wherefores. Bring my words, for they are all I have ever really owned. Bring the force of my words so that those I've not known will know how much of them they left with me before I took leave. It shut down. Oh, Lord. Let's do the daddy. My father was absent for the first 50 years of my life. He lived 4 miles from where I grew up, and he raised a family outside of what I knew. I didn't know him. And he had 26 other children. My father was prolific. And Benny Tyrone Foster still lives. His name was Benny Foster, but they called him Tyrone because he modeled himself, I don't know, maybe a couple of people in here might know, Tyrone Powell, the actor who was the ladies' man way back in the 40s and 50s. And my daddy modeled himself after that in Mac's time. Today, I hugged my father. I spoke with Benny Foster today. Benny Foster is my father. He and I, in his one-room ground floor low-rise efficiency in the same projects I played in as a child, not knowing he headed a household and there raised a family that I wasn't part of, but lived only 4 miles away. Benny Foster, who I didn't remember ever seeing way back then, though he said today he came to the home where I grew up, transporting my mother, who probably paid him for the ride. Today, Benny's comfort level was secure in his space, his voice primary, I, the journalist, probing my voice, avoiding the scene for his story, details. Told me things about him I'd never heard, he never said, and about him and me, and about him and me and my mother that he's never said. Benny, who the many ladies he romanced and the families he left in his wake called Tyrone, like Powell, the 1940s, 50s white boy silver screen icon, the ladies' man, the lover. Benny, who's called Tyrone, told me that he used to come see me at the house where I learned home and the garden where my blossom flowered, and that his coming was elemental, not ephemeral. He had the car my mother's command required transport. He obliged, came 2 or 3 times, he said. But the he said carries so little weight, damn near 7 decades after the fact. All this a revelation, a gift of knowing that raised more questions than answers satisfied. A gift that left me wanting to stay and take him on further journeys into his body-mind, into the psychology of a player turned old man with 26 distant children, distant spaces, distant times, distant eyes and minds. Today, I learned about his youth and the mannish boy and the shotgun wedding and the regrets at old age come back to roost in the nest of grandchildren. Today, I got to know something of my father. Got to see why my choices have been stepping stones out of misery. Got to see the lair where the outer core in me was born. Got to see in an 86-year-old frame and tired eyes what I left prostrate in a Walpole death cell. Got to see my father as the child he never quite lived to be. Got to see my father up close and friendly without judgment. And on this day, when I drove him back to the projects, he hesitated at the door handle. On this day, after we journeyed together to see his oldest daughter from his second marriage, my sister, who I didn't know until a half-century of living had passed, on this day, Tyrone teared up and grimaced. And I reached across the island separating us, hugged him, 'cause finally I felt something for him. Felt his pain and remorse. Felt his fatherhood aching. Felt his chickens coming home to roost. Felt myself and all the children he'd fathered but did not daddy. Felt for all the children who carry his name but whose names he cannot remember anymore.
Ooh.
There was one in here. There it is. This is called Margaret's Children. My mother was 16 when she had me, and my mother was raised in a very Catholic household where her mother was a single mother and her mother's mother was a single mother. And my grandmother zickered rosaries so that she could absolve herself of her own guilt as she beat it out of her grandchildren, out of her children, rather, in the name of loving her grandchildren. Because she was a good woman. Because she didn't know how to do it any other way. This is called Margaret's Children. You were just a girl, 16, blowed up with a child you hadn't planned on and for whom you had no plans. Now you, pariah, at the tail end of the Second World War, a lusty, skinny girl with china eyes, those fine, funny chink eyes, and a big, skinny caramel belly. They cast you out, your self-righteous Catholic mama who'd been badgered by her Bible-quoting mama, toting her lusty sinfulness. No one wanted the mess of you, and you hadn't yet learned to want yourself. They put you out in the cold of March winds to fish or cut bait. You, second daughter of a Tar Heel single mama, cramped up north in a Mount Vernon, New York walker. You, a wild child on wild streets, fast mouth, sensuous Pisces eyes, calling lovers and losers to your temple, shoeless in the snow of 6th Street, waiting for spring to bloom your yearning. Instead, labor, pain, and no man reality. And you, with a mouth to feed when you couldn't feed yourself. A Hershey chocolate man-child in your arms, heart swelling in a young mother's hands, and from the gallery your mama gripping rosaries, yelling inanities that galloped in one ear and out the other, your impregnator silent at your other ear, and you, full moon daughter of the fresh life with young hands that bury sticky afterbirth. You prayed long and hard, was heard. You answered, choosing life at 16 rather than another trail of tears. No blob of blood, fleshy life scraped out of your universe. You chose life for me to sing, but couldn't escape death and folly's finger pointing for yourself. You laid down to rest at 37, heartbroken, no man, son in death's shackles, little meaning in your life beyond the children slumped in Brownsville in liquor-clogged poverty, your brain fried, your lungs infected. You had to give up breath and coughed yourself to death in spasms. But today, Margaret, your child turned 67. I've seen 17 more years than you saw. I have my own sorrows and my joy has walked the trail of tears. Still, I walk upright, head held high, knowing mother's love conquers all. For even in your youth and destitution, your God-given mothering spirit delivered me to hands that taught me how to live and love and complete yet another cycle on the road to our recovery. A mother you were, even when you weren't there. You died 32 years ago, cold, alone, I hope, not afraid. You did the best you could do, and mama, know that you did well. No, I know you did your best, and know your other sons and daughters are raising up healthy children with memory and grace in their hearts. Margaret's children are here, and here living witness to her living. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. Thank you. Just one last word, Feifei, before I give it up. Tell your friends about this space. It's a space for artists. It's a space for people who have something to say, something real to say. If you've listened to the presidential and vice presidential debate, you know what I mean by something real as opposed to something artificial. This is a space for real people to speak real truths about their real lives.
Right.
It's a space for people to bring their fear and their trepidation, their hesitation, so that they can get over it, so that they can go into the world and conquer the demons that await them. This is a space that needs your support. This is a space, like so many days of my life, and maybe it's me, I don't know, it must be me. This is a space like so many people in here, I'm sure, have known, check to check, paycheck to paycheck, Social Security check to Social Security check, no check to whatever I could hustle. This is a space where in November the rent might be paid or it may not. We're on the way to being paid, but we ain't there yet. That's why Mary was giving out brochures. Pay attention to the brochures. You work here. You've experienced the work here. You've experienced the life here. I went to Segway. I went to a wonderful presentation at Fillmore on Broadway. It's a beautiful space. If you haven't been, it's a beautiful space. It was good music. The people were friendly, but there wasn't no life in the place. Wasn't no life there. The life was here tonight. The life that Adam brought. The life that Domonica brought. The life that Larry and Freddie Bay and Adosh and Victor bro, the life was, that life wasn't there. Real people's lives. Fort Wayne needs a space for real people's lives.
Right.
And if this space, if we can't do it here, then you gotta resurrect another space for real people. You gotta bring something for real people so that true voices can be heard. People can speak their truth. The truth that Adam spoke tonight is a truth that I will take with me because I've been there. They locked me up in the nut house, in the Air Force, and told me I was insane because I didn't want to go to fight to Vietnam to fight nobody that I didn't know didn't look like me. I understand what you were saying. I have lived with the people under the bridge. I understand what you've been saying. I ain't did the crack, brother. I didn't go there. I ain't going there. But I done did the stick-ups. I've been a gangster. I've been many things in my life. But where I'm at now is it's about bringing people to the reality that we are all we have. You cannot count on the government. The folks downtown in City Hall or the folks in Washington, you can't really count on the people because they have logheads. They fighting for power. We looking for a dime to pay the rent. They fighting for power. So we have to learn how to depend on one another. And these are spaces that allow us to do that because they allow us to come real. So support one another. When you hear about artists who are performing, go to have to say. You know, it's not, and I'm saying this to you, Domonica, with that incredible voice that gets inside people. It ain't all about entertainment. It ain't about entertainment. Touch the people. You touch the people with your story. You touch the people with your life. Bring the people who you are so that you can thrive and you can make people thrive with you. That's what it's about. It ain't about entertainment. Because if you get into the entertainment, they're going to prostitute you. That's what the entertainment business is about. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, David, for your service this evening and your ongoing service. Thank you, Faith, for all you do and all you have always done. And Faith's name ought to be Faithful. Because he's like that. He comes like that. And he comes from a people who are like that. And he comes from a place that is like that. And to have Faith in our presence is a blessing that we don't often enough speak about. Thank you.
Thank you all folks. This concludes our evening. Thank you for coming. Please proceed with caution. As you may say, we may not have November rent, so do not bring us some insurance claim on that.
Okay.
Thank you.